Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with blues musician Chris Daniels. Right out of St. Paul, Minnesota, he began playing guitar when he was 10, and these days he's promoting yet another album, 2017's Blues with Horns. So in 1984, Daniels formed Chris Daniels and the R&B Kings, originally planned as a Boulder one-nighter. The band has gone on to release 14 albums and toured extensively in the United States and has completed over 21 European tours. They have performed for 3 U.S. presidents and the former Queen of the Netherlands. He is a legend and a survivor. He beat acute leukemia, and he is a member of the Colorado Music Hall of Fame. He's a cool cat, man. Get to know him and dig this interview, my friends.
Chris, again, thank you for taking some time out. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure.
So I'm going to go ahead and hop into the elephant in the room here, which is your latest album, Blues with Horns. Talk to me about this album. How do you feel about it? What went into it? Just kind of give me your general feel.
Well, I think it's the best album we've done, and that's because this is the 15th. 3 things came together. One is I think we got the best tunes that we've ever had, both the songs that Freddie and I wrote, and also paying tribute to some of the great blues guys from the past, you know, like Bobby Blue Bland and Walter Wolfman Washington, Johnny Guitar Watson. You know, I think we chose really good tunes to pay tribute, and then I'm loving the new tunes that we wrote. Just something we've seen a lot, which is we played, you know, the Carolina Down Home Blues Festival or the Greeley Blues Jam or whatever. And almost all of the bands that are playing don't have horn sections or don't even have horns in them. You know, a lot of times they've got great harp players, great guitar players. So this was really trying to say, hey, man, this is a great tradition. And yeah, it's a little expensive to get 7 guys on stage, but boy, it's sure, you know, and men and women, but it sure is good.
Absolutely. So, you know, being a jazz show, I'm always the one thing I don't think that people realize is that blues was the precursor to all of it. It was the alpha that has led to our ultimate levels of omega in American music. How do you pay homage to jazz? How does jazz factor into what you do?
Well, Wynton Marsalis said it great when he said blues was the aquifer that everybody drilled down into. And I think that's a great way to put it. You know, that for us, jazz is a really big part of it. In fact, we did an entire album in 1997 called Louie Louie that was a paid tribute to Louis Armstrong, Louis Jordan, and Louis Prima. And so jump blues, which really kind of came out of that era of swing, was a big part of what we do, and we still do it. But for us, the horn sound is really where the tie-in, that New Orleans and Memphis sound, where a horn section does call and response, you know, and that's at the heart of what we do. So it's a very jazz thing. And then when we play, you know, I know there's bands that kind of get up there and everybody does their own thing. We're looking at each other the whole time. To give you an example, we were playing a festival in Belgium and we got some really bad food. So the trumpet player in his solo started quoting the old Alka-Seltzer theme, plop, plop, fizz, fizz. And the whole band picked it up. So we come from a long line of a long jazz tradition of playing off one another.
That's beautiful. That is some synchronicity in the improv vein right there, for sure. Let me ask you a question. You were born in St. Paul, Minnesota, correct?
Oh, geez, yeah.
Okay. I like it. And then you got itchy and migrated to the East Coast. But talk to me about your childhood. You started playing guitar at 10. When did music really sink its claws into your existence?
Well, I was a kind of pudgy, dyslexic kid, so it was the first thing that I could do that I had any success at. So I wasn't athletic, and I wasn't very good at school, but I sure could play that darn guitar. So that's kind of what got me going. The first band that I played with was a really wonderful group called Magic Music, and it was an all-acoustic hippie band. And that was really the guy who was sort of the leader of that band, Will Lucky, was the guy that said, you know, you could do this for a living. And I said, okay, and promptly dropped out of high school and toured with that band for 6 years.
Cool. So, but you did go back to school. You went to the Berklee College of Music.
Yep, went to Berkeley and McAllister College in St. Paul for a while. And then I got my master's degree, too, which is how I teach at the University of Colorado now.
That's an interesting trajectory of, getting out of high school, then coming back, and not just bachelor's, but your master's, and you teach, and you obviously have a reverence for education. So my question is this. Talk to me about the powers of higher education. The classroom obviously was the stage coming out of high school. That was the allure. But how do you feel about melding both of those and what higher education can do for a music brain?
Well, I'm really lucky because I'm teaching at a school that is basically designed after Berkeley. CU Denver has a program called the College of Arts and Media, and that's where I teach. And it's basically the Berkeley design. We're teaching jazz, we're teaching pop, we're teaching recording and all the recording arts, and we're teaching music business. So for me, I'm in heaven when it comes to this because a lot of what I'm teaching is about the business itself, because these days, and it's an overused word, entrepreneur, but these days every musician coming up has got to be an entrepreneur, at least in the beginning of their career. No one's going to come in and say, oh, you're the most fabulous thing since sliced bread, I'm taking you all the way, as was the sort of things that happened, when Ahmet Ertegun and people like that discovered Ray Charles. That's not what's going on. There's a whole new generation, and they're smarter, and they're making incredible music, and they're very savvy, and they're not kind of getting lost in the drug world from the past. I live in Colorado. It's all around them, and they don't care. They're focused.
Right on. Well, speaking of focus, your career has had so many levels of milestones and amazing moments. But I want to talk to you about, you were with David Johansen for the New York Dolls for a little time. You talked about Magic Music, Spoons, the R&B Kings. We can go on and on with all of these bands you've been involved in. When you look back in your life, how do you feel about these outfits, these bands that you've been in collectively? How have they helped you grow as a musician?
What a great question. Well, with David, I was a teenager, and it was before he joined the New York Dolls, and I think it lasted a month. And then he got the offer from the Dolls. So that's kind of in the dusty back bit of my mind. I don't remember much of it. But I tell you, the thing that has been so exciting about doing a project for 33 years, which is the Kings, and in the last 5 to 6 years incorporating Freddie Gowdy from they were signed to Reprise with the Freddie Henchy and the Soul Setters, is that this band in a jazz tradition communicates. And I know I said it before, but we walk on stage every night without a set list. There's no list that says this is what we're going to play. We walk on stage, I'm kind of looking at the crowd, feeling what's going on. I usually know what the first song is once I look at the crowd and feel where they are. But past that, it's a combination of all improv and this incredible set of arrangements. So we know exactly what's going to happen in certain places. They're like islands of safety. This is where all we're going to come together, and we're going to play this part together. And then we're going to go off on this little adventure and see if the audience will go with us. I've never been with a band that can do that. This band does that, and it's striking. I think it's why we've stayed together for so long, is because it's the music that's the fun part. All the rest is just hauling furniture.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's incredible to think that, you're going up there and you're just orchestrating this magic without a set list. And I see that you've performed for a number of U.S. presidents, the former Queen of the Netherlands. You've been on all kinds of shows. What has it been like to be in front of dignitaries and to broadcast to such large audiences?
Boy, that's another good question. The most recent show we played like that was we were the Paul Schaefer band. We were the stage band, backup band for Garth Brooks, Vince Gill, Joe Walsh, Amy Grant, and it was at Fiddler's Green, a big amphitheater out here, about 18,000 people sold out. And what I loved was that the musicians in the band, or guitar player, or drummer, all the musicians who've worked at this for so long, literally had people who had sold 160 million albums coming up to them saying, "You were fantastic. I loved working with you. You know, wow," and all of that. And it was nice to see them get that kind of accolade. So that was the high point for me. So for me, anytime that, especially the other guys in the band, can get that kind of, holy smokes, you guys are smoking. I mean, my guitar player toured with Albert King for years. And, I mean, he's monstrous. He's another Berkeley grad, you know. But the next week we were playing a gig where we were hauling equipment and making $100 a man. So, yeah, put it in perspective.
The one thing about your career, too, is that you're a member of the Colorado Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And you've had such a good run. When you kind of collectively look back, sipping on the lemonade on the front porch, and you think about your life in music, how do you feel? Is it something you ever reflect on? What kind of feeling do you have about this life that you've led?
Well, somebody else said it, and I don't know who it was, but they said, you know, man, when you get one of those Lifetime Achievements Awards and you're still living, it's a little weird. It's like, wait a minute, I'm still out here doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for the rocking chair on the front porch. So for me, it's one of I look at it as kind of as a station stop. You know, I'm on the A train. You know, this is Hoyt Skimmerhorn. You know, we stopped here. But I'm going on to the next thing. I'm looking at, you know, I mean, where we're going to go next. What can we do next that's going to be fun? And that's one of the weird things, and I teach this. And being a band leader, it's not just about saying, okay, yeah, the gig is here, and this is when we show up, and this is what the pay is. It's about, what's our vision? So our vision was to get this record done, and now we're out promoting it. But while that's going on, you know, sitting on the front porch, I'm not doing a lot of that. What I'm doing is going, okay, where are we going to go now? You know, where can we take this crazy adventure next?
It's one thing to have accolades in life with music and your artistry, but there's another of it that's surviving adversity. And you've had leukemia, and It's a great story. You've gone through chemo and bone marrow. Your sister helped out. Talk to me about that part of your life and how you overcame it.
Leukemia, and I had a kind of called acute myeloid leukemia, which is really a nasty version of it. It only has about a 25% survival rate for 5 years. So in a way, it's Edgar Allan Poe had that wonderful thing about the nightmare that hides in the chimneys above your roof. It's kind of always in the back of my mind because they never say cured. But what that forces you to do in a very good creative way is go, all right, so I've got today. I woke up this morning, like every blues song says. Yeah, I woke up this morning. You know, but for me, it's a celebration. I actually woke up this morning. You know, that's pretty magical. So what can I do with this day? And that's I know it's, you know, it's sort of cheesy. Everybody says you gotta live every day, but in my case, I'm trying to get as much out of this day as I possibly can, trying to be of service to other people. You know, there's all these people in Houston and where I went to go through cancer treatment, and you know, I've got really good dear friends down there, and so I'm in touch with them and seeing how I can help. And I have another friend who lives over in Dade County, and how can I help him? So for me, it's more on a personal level, and yeah, I go into the Red Cross, but I'm trying to help with that. But the other thing that I'm doing, and this sounds a little weird, but I'm kind of looking at this as a progression. So I'm in extra innings, right? So I'm making the most of it. Like, one of the most wonderful things I got to do was to work with the phenomenal, incredible Al Jarreau on a children's album. And I got to sing together with him live on stage. You know, I mean, I could have been done then. You know, they could have just handed me the certificate. Okay, you got to sing with Al Jarreau, go to heaven. You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, you keep going, looking for those moments of, you know, having Garth Brooks sit down and say, man, y'all are great. And you go, okay, good, yeah, I could die, go to heaven right now. No, I want to get up. I woke up this morning, so what am I going to do today? And I'm talking to you, and this is great.
Right on. Surviving that and just being in extra innings and just everything that you've seen in your life, I got this question for you, and I'm going to weave in a little bit before it here. I remember when the Beatles anthology came out, when Paul and the boys came to America the first time, I guess they really had a party with Bob Dylan and smoked and drank and did whatever they did. And at one point, I guess Bob slipped a little note to Paul that had the meaning of life on it. And in the interview, Paul was upset because the next morning he couldn't find it, and for obvious reasons. Whether it was karmic magic, too much of the smoke, whatever it was, he didn't know where it went. But he said he saw the meaning of life at one point from Bob Dylan in his pocket. So I'm going to ask you this. If you could pull out that piece of paper and write it down and give it to someone and they could revere that, what do you think the meaning of life would be? What do you think one of the big meanings for you for this existence would be?
Boy, it's a really good question. For me personally, and I know there's other people who look at it completely different. There's people who meditate, and their meaning of life is found by an internal examination of self. My meaning of life is the exact opposite direction. It is external. It is getting into and out of myself. Is the old Randy Newman saying, it takes a whole lot of medicine for me to pretend I'm somebody else, in the song Guilty. For me, that medicine is getting out and being in the moment with my student who walks into my classroom and goes, boy, I'm going through this and I don't know how to deal with this. Or on stage, that moment when the band is firing on all eights and there's no feeling like it in the world, all of a sudden it's like flying and soaring. It's those moments out of not looking internally but learning externally. What can I do? I get up before class and I'm looking at the stuff that I'm going to be teaching and I'm going, okay, how do I present this in slightly a new way for a millennial generation that doesn't talk on the telephone and texts all the time? How do I find an example for them that makes it come clear when I'm talking about copyrights or something like that? So that's what it is for me. The bliss in life, as, what was his wonderful name? Joseph Campbell said. Finding your bliss for me is going out and every day getting really involved in those things that help other people, that bring joy to other people, playing music. That's it. So I would say you get out of yourself and get into things, whether that's helping people in a community or writing a song. Though I respect people who look inward, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Not a lot there.
Sure. I dig it. And I think that is a very fitting way to kind of wrap everything up. I hope the extra innings keep going on and on because you brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. So, Chris, thank you for your time. I appreciate you opening up your world a little bit to me.
Hey, man, thank you. And I guess if I had to say one thing in closing on my part, I'd say the thing I absolutely love about this record, Blues with Horns, is that what we're hoping to do is to put together a forum website where other people who love this kind of music can start, writing in, saying, hey, I saw Susan Tedeschi last night and she had this killer horn section and boy, talk about Blues with Horns, she nailed it. Or, I just saw, Walter Wolfman Washington at the Maple Leaf Club in New Orleans or whatever. I'm hoping to make this a forum where people can start talking about how cool this sound is. So that's my hope.
On my end, I'm going to get people to flock your way, and hopefully that just mutates a little bit more and keeps going. That'd be great.
All right, man. Hey, thank you. My love to Kansas City. You get the best barbecue on the planet.
Oh, man. Anytime people are here, they lament the fact that they have to leave because they love it.
We played there a couple of times, and one of my favorite towns in the world.
It's good. We try to keep things together here, but you got quite a town up there too.
Joe, man, what a pleasure.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Kansas City, Colorado, and spots all over the globe, giving fans all that jazz and blues. And thanks to Chris for his time, his cool, and his stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.